Commander Elena Vasquez steadied her breathing as the massive alien ship materialized at the edge of Alpha Centauri. Through the viewport of humanity's first true interstellar vessel, the UES Intrepid, she watched crystalline patterns pulse across the alien hull. Beautiful, yet somehow threatening. "They're hailing us," Lieutenant Park announced, voice barely concealing his excitement. Elena straightened her uniform and nodded. 6 years of training for this moment, and her mouth still went dry. "Accept the transmission," she ordered, her voice steadier than she felt. The holographic projector flickered to life, revealing 3 beings so wildly different from each other that Elena momentarily forgot diplomatic protocol. The crystalline Phylaxian towered over its colleagues, its faceted body refracting light in hypnotic patterns. Beside it floated a gelatinous Merbani, its translucent body revealing complex organic circuitry pulsing with information. The reptilian Draxid completed the trio, scales shifting color as it spoke. "Humanity," it rasped, "the Galactic Senate welcomes you to the stars." Elena found her voice. "On behalf of Earth and her colonies, we thank you for this welcome." The bridge crew maintained their composure, but Elena could feel their tension. Excitement mingled with primal fear. Humanity wasn't alone, had never been alone, and now faced the representatives of 37 spacefaring civilizations. "Your achievement of practical faster-than-light travel qualifies your species for Senate consideration," the Merbani burbled, its voice somehow coming from everywhere and nowhere. "We have monitored your development with great interest." Elena exchanged glances with Captain Rodriguez, who stood silently beside her. They'd prepared for this possibility, that advanced civilizations might have been watching Earth all along. "We would be honored to learn more about the Senate," Elena replied. The Phylaxian's crystalline body chimed softly as it moved forward. "Our database on Earth is extensive, Commander Vasquez, but we would appreciate clarification on certain elements of your historical record." A series of images flickered through the hologram. Ancient battles, modern conflicts, military parades, and training exercises. Elena felt her stomach tighten. "Your historical archives indicate 15,783 distinct conflicts classified as wars," the Phylaxian asked, antenna twitching nervously. "Is this translation accurate?" Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. "Our history contains many conflicts, yes, but these have diminished greatly as we've advanced. The United Earth government has maintained global peace for nearly 40 years. The 3 aliens exchanged glances, or what Elena interpreted as their species' equivalent of glances. The Draxid scales rippled from green to a deep purple. 40 years, it repeated as if testing the brevity of the time span. Most Senate species achieved internal peace millennia before developing interstellar capability. Elena smiled diplomatically. "Humans are quick learners." Indeed, the Merbani pulsed, its inner circuitry suddenly racing with activity. "Your technological progression curve is unusual." The Phylaxian made a chiming sound that the translator didn't interpret. Then it spoke directly to Elena. "The Senate formally invites a human delegation to our central chambers. We will transmit coordinates and protocols. Your representatives may bring a small security detachment, though weapons are restricted within Senate spaces." After the transmission ended, the bridge remained silent until Captain Rodriguez whistled softly. "Well, Commander, it seems your diplomatic skills will be put to the test," he said. "What's your assessment?" Elena stared at the alien vessel, its crystalline patterns now pulsing in what seemed like agitation. "They're afraid of us, Captain," she said quietly. "Did you notice how they focused on our conflicts? How they measured our peace in decades while they count in millennia? So our first diplomatic mission to the stars will be convincing them we're not monsters," Rodriguez concluded. Elena nodded, unaware that aboard the Senate vessel, the Galactic Threat Assessment Systems had just categorized humans as potentially catastrophic, assigning them the highest danger rating of any newly discovered species in 12,000 years of Senate history. Admiral Wei Chen tried not to gawk at the Senate headquarters, a massive ring-shaped station that dwarfed anything humans had built, as he led Earth's first official delegation through its gleaming corridors. The structure rotated gently, creating artificial gravity that felt slightly lighter than Earth's, giving each step a subtle bounce that reminded Wei they were far from home. "Try not to look too impressed," he murmured to Dr. Eliza Santos, Earth's foremost xenobiologist. "We're representing humanity, not tourists." "Difficult task, Admiral," Santos whispered back, her eyes tracking a being that appeared to be made entirely of interlocking geometric shapes floating through the air. That's their equivalent of an administrative assistant. Behind them walked scientists, diplomats, and cultural attaches, Earth's finest minds selected for first contact. Major Rodriguez and his security team formed a protective perimeter, their dress uniforms concealing minimal defensive equipment that had been approved by Senate protocols. A melodic chime echoed through the corridor, and their escort, a towering Phylaxian diplomat named Crystallis, gestured with a faceted limb. "The welcome ceremony begins. Please follow the illuminated path." They entered a vast chamber where representatives from dozens of species mingled beneath a transparent dome showcasing the stars. The welcome ceremony dazzled with technology centuries beyond Earth's development. Gravity-defying dancers from low-mass worlds spun impossible patterns above the crowd, light sculptures responded to emotional states of nearby beings, and food rearranged its molecular structure to match each species' preferences. "Admiral," prompted Crystallis, "would you offer Earth's formal greeting?" Wei stepped onto the indicated platform, feeling thousands of alien eyes upon him. He delivered humanity's carefully crafted introduction, emphasizing cooperation, peace, and mutual advancement. The translation systems converted his words into dozens of languages simultaneously, creating a harmonic chorus that resonated throughout the chamber. Applause, or various species equivalents, followed, but Wei noticed disturbing patterns as he rejoined the delegation. The warrior-like Vorksians, impressive with their 6 arms and ceremonial blades, created a visible bubble of space around the human delegation. The bioluminescent Quallen pulsed alarming shades of blue whenever humans approached, their tentacles curling defensively. "Something's wrong," Major Rodriguez muttered, his military training sensing the tension. Dr. Santos nodded subtly. "They're treating us like we're dangerous. Notice the security presence. It's doubled near us compared to other delegations." Wei maintained his diplomatic smile while scanning the room. A 4-legged being scurried away when he made eye contact. A floating collective of gas-filled sacks changed colors dramatically when Dr. Santos approached it. When Wei finally cornered their liaison, a friendly bird-like trill named Kipta, the alien shifted uncomfortably on its perch. "Is there a problem with our delegation?" Wei asked directly. Kipta's feathers ruffled nervously. "No problem, Admiral. Simply adjustments." "Adjustments to what?" The trill's answer chilled him. "Your combat recordings fascinate and terrify the Senate. The footage from your world wars has been classified as psychological hazard material for 17 species. Most civilizations abandon organized conflict before mastering atomic energy, let alone reaching the stars." Wei carefully controlled his expression. "We've evolved past those conflicts." "Have you?" Kipta chirped, head tilting curiously. "Your delegation includes 6 individuals with military enhancements and combat experience. Your security team shows evidence of recent conflict simulation training. Even your scientists display physiological markers of competitive behaviors. Being prepared for hostility isn't the same as being hostile," Wei countered. Kipta's eyes blinked vertically. "The distinction escapes many Senate species who evolved without predators. Admiral, they see a species whose technological advancement occurred alongside weapons development, not despite it." The trill leaned closer. "Between us, some believe inviting humans to the Senate was a grave error." As Wei rejoined his team, he kept his voice steady despite his concern. "We have a diplomatic situation developing. They're afraid of us. Not what we've done, but what they think we might do. Dr. Santos frowned. Because we fought wars. Because, Wei replied, watching a Senate security team tracking their movements, we're evidently the only species here that still remembers how. The diplomatic reception following the welcome ceremony buzzed with conversation in dozens of languages, creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and modulated tones. Lieutenant Maya Jackson stood at attention near Admiral Wei, observing the gathered dignitaries with the heightened awareness that had kept her alive through 3 peacekeeping operations back on Earth. Maya's cybernetic enhancements were subtle, neural processors that accelerated her reaction time and environmental analysis implants that fed her constant tactical data. But she noticed several alien species scanning her with their own technology. Their interest made her uneasy. "At ease, Lieutenant," Admiral Wei murmured. "You're supposed to be enjoying yourself." "Sir, I count at least 15 species actively monitoring our biometrics," she replied quietly. "That doesn't inspire relaxation." Wei sighed. "Diplomatic duty rarely does. Just remember." His words were cut short as Ambassador Gurk of the Scarvian Confederation approached their group. The amphibious diplomat was clearly intoxicated, his protective moisture field fluctuating as he swayed slightly. Maya noted the Scarvians' enlarged poison sacs, a sign of aggression in their species, and subtly shifted her stance. "Ah, the humans," Gurk announced too loudly, slapping a webbed hand against his chest armor. "Finally meeting the legendary warriors of the primitive world." Admiral Wei offered a diplomatic smile. "Ambassador, we're honored to join the galactic community." Gurk knocked back his 7th cup of fermented nectar, his gills flaring. "These humans look soft, all that technology, and barely any natural defenses," he proclaimed to the growing crowd of onlookers. "My ancestors evolved toxins that could paralyze prey in seconds. What did yours develop? Opposable thumbs." He laughed wetly. Maya caught Admiral Wei's warning glance but stepped forward anyway. Something in the Scarvian's dismissive tone triggered an ancient competitive instinct she couldn't suppress. "Natural defenses can be overrated, Ambassador," she smiled, a predatory edge gleaming through her professional demeanor. "Perhaps a friendly demonstration." A ripple of alarm passed through the watching diplomats. The Phylaxian representative's crystalline form chimed with concern. The Scarvian's amphibious features contorted into what passed for a smile among his kind. "The recreation chamber has sparing facilities, unless you require special accommodations for your fragility." 20 minutes later, Senate representatives formed a circle in the chamber, expecting a formal exhibition match, a common diplomatic tradition. The Scarvian removed his ceremonial armor, revealing naturally armored skin glistening with toxic secretions. "Standard Senate recreational combat rules," announced the referee, a multi-limbed Jorax whose species specialized in conflict resolution. "First to submission or incapacitation. No permanent damage intended. Begin when ready." Maya stood barefoot on the padded floor, having removed her uniform jacket. She wore a simple tank top that revealed the thin lines of her neural enhancement scars. She centered herself, breathing deeply. "I'll try not to harm you permanently, human," Gurk announced, his translator broadcasting to the audience. "Our species has been combat-ready since evolution granted us these." He flexed, and venomous barbs extended from his forearms, a completely legal move in Senate exhibition matches. The gathered diplomats expected Maya to request protective gear or withdraw. Instead, she simply smiled and nodded respectfully. What followed shocked the Senate observers. When the Scarvian attacked with his natural weapons, toxin-coated barbs that had evolved over millions of years, Maya didn't retreat as expected. She analyzed, adapted, and overcame with terrifying efficiency. She slipped under his first lunge, her movements fluid as water. When he deployed his venomous spray, standard in their cultural competitions, she was already moving, having anticipated the attack pattern from subtle muscle contractions she'd observed during his boasting. 3 minutes later, The match ended with the Scarvian ambassador pinned in a submission hold, his own toxin glands carefully pressured to prevent release. Maya had neutralized every evolutionary advantage with precision that left the audience in stunned silence. "Just basic close-quarters training," she explained as she helped the dazed Scarvian to his feet. A Murbani diplomat's translucent body turned pale with shock as it whispered to its companion. She predicted every evolutionary advantage and neutralized it, without any natural weapons of her own. Admiral Wei closed his eyes briefly. In 3 minutes, Lieutenant Jackson had just confirmed every fear the Senate harbored about humanity. "They're locking us out of the session," Dr. Amara Okafor reported, her fingers dancing across the neural interface as she attempted to bypass the Senate's security protocols. The quantum encryption specialist had been Earth's ace in hole, someone who could interface with alien systems thanks to her specialized neural implants. Now even she looked concerned. Admiral Wei and his team gathered in their assigned quarters, clustered around holographic displays showing the emergency Senate proceedings they weren't invited to attend. The chamber feed was public according to Senate transparency laws, but the human delegation had been politely and firmly asked to remain in their quarters for their own safety while the session occurred. "Can you enhance the audio on the Draxid representative?" Commander Elena Vasquez asked, pointing to one of the screens where the reptilian diplomat was addressing the chamber. Dr. Okafor nodded, isolating the frequency. The Draxid's translated voice filled their room. Human military archives reveal systematic development of combat techniques explicitly designed to counter superior opponents. Their entire history is a case study in asymmetric warfare. Maya Jackson winced. "They're treating our military history like it's a criminal record." "To them, it might as well be," Wei replied, his expression grave as he watched species after species take the floor, presenting data on human warfare that the Earth delegation hadn't even realized was being collected. The elephantine Jorax lumbered to the central podium, trunk swaying with emotion. "Observe these historical combat scenarios," the massive alien rumbled. The chamber's holographic system displayed recreations of ancient human battles. Romans at Cannae, Mongols at Baghdad, naval warfare at Midway, each annotated with terrifying precision about human tactical adaptability. "Note the pattern," the Jorax continued. "Humans consistently develop counters to superior force. When facing technological disadvantage, they adapt environmental factors. When outnumbered, they employ psychological warfare. When outgunned, they develop stealth tactics." Major Rodriguez whispered, "They've been studying us for decades." The insectoid Arxians took the floor next, their chittering translated into mathematical equations and probability matrices projected throughout the chamber. Their representatives' compound eyes reflected the light of a complex simulation showing human military forces pitted against various Senate defense protocols. Probability of Senate conventional security containment, 12.7%. The Arxian clicked. Probability of significant Senate casualties, 87.3%. The results triggered immediate classification, the public feed temporarily switching to a diplomatic symbol, but the wave of murmuring that swept through the chamber told its own story. "They've never seen anything like us," Alina realized aloud, leaning back from the displays. "They evolved toward cooperation without our evolutionary pressures." Dr. Santos nodded slowly. "Look at their physiologies. Most Senate species evolved as prey or specialized plant eaters. Even their predatory species developed cultural taboos against intraspecies conflict millennia ago." Major Rodriguez examined the Arxian data that had briefly flashed on screen. "They don't understand that where we come from, peace is something you fight for." Admiral Wei watched the proceedings with growing concern. The Phylaxian High Minister's crystalline body had taken on sharp, angular formations, a sign of extreme distress in their species. "The human capacity for violence exceeds anything in Senate records," the Phylaxian chimed. Their Lieutenant Jackson defeated a Scarvian using their term situational awareness and tactical analysis. Without weapons, A species that turns combat into a science cannot be permitted unrestricted access to galactic civilization. Wei turned to his team, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. We're watching the formation of a policy that could restrict humanity to our own solar system. They're going to contain us like a disease. Can we appeal to them? Elena asked. Surely they must see we've evolved beyond our violent past. Before Wei could answer, Dr. Okafor straightened suddenly, her neural interface pulsing with new information. Admiral, I've intercepted internal Senate security communications. They're upgrading our threat assessment to Omega-class potential extinction event. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had reached for the stars only to find themselves classified as the galaxy's most dangerous species. High Chancellor Sorix floated before the human delegation in the formal judgment chamber, the intelligent gas comprising its consciousness swirling with agitation inside its containment suit. The chamber itself seemed designed to intimidate. A circular room with tiered seating that rose steeply on all sides, placing the humans at the lowest point, with hundreds of alien representatives looking down upon them. Admiral Wei stood with perfect military posture, flanked by Commander Vasquez and Dr. Kapoor. Behind them, Lieutenant Maya Jackson kept her eyes forward, though she felt the weight of countless alien gazes upon her. She had become, overnight, the living embodiment of humanity's perceived threat. The Senate has reached consensus after 16 standard hours of deliberation. Sorix announced, voice synthesizer pitched to convey grave concern. The swirling gases within its containment suit had darkened to a deep purple, a sign that even this ancient, gaseous being experienced something akin to stress. A holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber, showing a map of the galaxy with Sol system highlighted in pulsing red. Human military methodologies are hereby restricted from all galactic territories excluding Sol system. The Chancellor continued. Your species may join our community as provisional members, but your combat personnel and weaponized vessels must remain within your home system boundaries. A murmur of approval rippled through the gathered representatives. Admiral Wei stepped forward, his face betraying none of the frustration he felt. Chancellor, with all due respect, we have the right to self-defense under the Senate's own charter. Section 12, Paragraph 4, he stated clearly. Restricting our ability to protect our own ships and personnel beyond Sol system violates the fundamental principles of sovereignty. The Chancellor's suit pulsed red, gases swirling faster within. Your concept of defense includes 67 distinct combat techniques our analysts classify as extinction-level threats to 12-member species. Thorax gestured, and footage from Maya's sparring match with the Scarvian played above them. Your lieutenant defeated a being with natural toxins, armored hide, and aquatic adaptations using what you call basic training. The Senate has reviewed your military archives. What you consider basic would qualify as advanced theoretical combat to most Senate species. Commander Vasquez attempted to intercede. Chancellor, surely we can reach a compromise that respects both security concerns and our rights as a sovereign species. Omerbani Elder floated forward, its translucent body pulsing with neural activity. We propose a probationary period. Humans may travel Senate space, but military vessels must remain in Sol system. Civilian ships may carry minimal security personnel only. After 50 standard years, the restriction may be reconsidered. 50 years. Dr. Kapoor whispered in disbelief. Admiral Wei maintained his diplomatic demeanor despite the outrageous terms. We request time to consult with Earth government before responding to these terms. 24 standard hours. Thorax conceded. This session is adjourned. As the humans returned to their quarters, Lieutenant Maya's quiet apology was met with Wei's thoughtful headshake. It wasn't your fault, Lieutenant. They fear what humanity represents, a species that found its way to the stars not despite conflict, but partially because of it. They don't understand that sometimes peace must be enforced. Dr. Okafor's datapad chimed with a private message. She scanned it quickly, then looked up with surprise. It's from a Trill researcher named Kipta. Your warriors fight like our nightmares, but I've studied enough history to wonder if we'll need them someday. Not all species beyond Senate space are peaceful. We stared out the viewport at the massive Senate station, its gleaming ring structure representing millennia of peaceful cooperation. Cooperation that had apparently bred complacency. They've forgotten what it means to face genuine threats, he mused. They've been safe so long they've forgotten the price of safety. So what do we do? Helena asked. Accept their terms. Wei's expression hardened with resolve. For now. But we prepare, because sooner or later, this galaxy will remember why species evolved to fight in the first place. Dr. Prisha Kapoor, humanity's newly appointed ambassador to the Galactic Senate, maintained her composure as alarms blared throughout the Senate chamber. 6 months into humanity's probationary membership, she had grown accustomed to the subtle and not-so-subtle slights directed at the dangerous species, but nothing had prepared her for the chaos unfolding before her. The chamber's central holographic display flickered between emergency transmissions from 3 different worlds on the galactic rim. Each showed the same horrifying scenes, massive biomechanical ships descending through atmospheres, methodically harvesting everything from resources to living beings. Sector 8 outpost has gone silent, announced a Phylaxian technician, its crystalline form dulled with stress. That's the 4th station in 3 hours. The Merbani representative nearest to Prisha had become nearly transparent with terror, its internal neural pathways visibly racing. The collectors, it whispered, body pulsing with bioluminescent panic signals. We thought they were just legends from the dark time. Prisha leaned closer. The dark time. The Merbani trembled. Before the Senate, before our recorded history, stories tell of beings that consumed entire civilizations, leaving only ruins. We thought they were myths created to encourage cooperation. The Senate's primary peacekeeping admiral, a tentacled Quallen, projected its status report into the chamber's display. The translucent admiral's skin flickered with distress patterns as it delivered the news. Our rapid response fleet has engaged the unknown vessels at the Telex system. We have lost 43 ships and have confirmed only minimal damage to 3 enemy vessels. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The Senate's peacekeeping fleet, designed for customs enforcement and piracy suppression, had never faced an existential threat before. High Chancellor Xorix's containment suit had darkened to near black, the gases within barely visible. What are their demands? The Chancellor asked, voice synthesizer unable to fully convey the desperation. The tentacled admiral's skin flickered again. They have not responded to any communication attempts. They appear to be processing the populations of the affected worlds. Survivor reports indicate biological and technological harvesting. As casualty estimates reached billions, the Phylaxian High Minister crystallized in distress, its body becoming jagged with anxiety. Our defense protocols are theoretical. We haven't faced an existential threat in 8 millennia. Prisha watched species after species describe their inadequate military responses. The Vortians, despite their 6 arms and warrior ancestry, admitted their ceremonial combat forces had been overwhelmed in minutes. The Draxids reported their planetary defense grid had failed against the unknown technology. The Arxian representatives' compound eyes reflected the disaster projections hovering above them. Calculation indicates 87.4% probability of Senate extinction within 42 days based on current spread pattern and defensibility metrics. Prisha's mind raced through options. The human fleet remained quarantined in Sol system under the Senate's restrictions. Earth's military forces, the very capabilities that had frightened the Senate, waited uselessly, light years away. She caught the eye of Kipta, the Trill researcher who had once messaged them about needing human warriors someday. The avian being's feathers were flattened in distress, but there was recognition in its eyes. The moment they had privately feared had arrived. Silently, Prisha activated her quantum-encrypted communicator beneath the table. The device, hidden from Senate scans by Dr. Okafor's specialized countermeasures, connected directly to Earth's Defense Command. Her message to Admiral Wei was just 5 words. Send everything. They need us. Across the chamber, the Scarvian ambassador, the very same who had once challenged Lieutenant Maya, caught her eye. Perhaps he alone among the Senate representatives recognized the subtle change in her posture, the shift from diplomatic resignation to military resolve. His amphibious features contorted in what might have been understanding or fear. The nightmare had arrived, and despite everything, humanity would answer the call that the Senate had never expected to make. The Senate observation post detected the human fleet emerging from hyperspace and immediately triggered invasion protocols, until they realized the 300 warships were heading toward Collector-occupied territory. The Qualan commander's tentacles rippled with confusion as it communicated with its superiors back at Senate headquarters. Human vessels are violating restricted space, it reported, but they appear to be moving to engage the Collector forces at Proxima Secundi. Admiral Wei Chen stood on the bridge of the Earth dreadnought Artemis, the most powerful warship humanity had ever constructed. Through the viewport, he watched as his fleet moved into formation. Sleek destroyers, heavy cruisers, and specialized combat vessels, each representing centuries of human military evolution. All ships reporting combat ready, Admiral, his XO announced. Operation Thunderbolt is green across the board. Wei nodded, studying the tactical displays where engagement scenarios developed through thousands of years of human conflict, played out in predictive simulations. The Collector vessels, massive hive-like structures bristling with harvest apparatus, had no precedent in human combat experience, but adaptation was humanity's specialty. All ships, execute Operation Thunderbolt, he commanded, his voice steady. Humanity stands with the Senate today. Across the bridge, his crew moved with practiced precision. Lieutenant Commander Okafor's cybernetics interfaced directly with the ship's systems, her enhanced mind processing battlefield data at superhuman speeds. Major Rodriguez coordinated the Marine drop teams, soldiers equipped with powered armor that represented the pinnacle of human combat engineering. The Senate representatives watched in awe as humans demonstrated what thousands of years of warfare had taught them. The Archean observation team's compound eyes recorded everything, their mathematical minds struggling to process the complexity of human battle doctrine. Marine drop teams deployed using tactics refined in ancient naval warfare, boarding Collector vessels with shocking precision. While Senate forces had approached the enemy in predictable formations, human ships executed chaotic, seemingly random maneuvers that nonetheless formed a coherent strategy. Where Senate communications followed standardized protocols, human transmissions shifted frequencies and encryption constantly. Earth's cyber warfare divisions unleashed viruses based on principles developed during the information conflicts of the 2030s, their code evolving faster than the Collector's defenses could adapt. Where Senate systems had been overwhelmed, human networks bent but did not break. Lieutenant Maya Jackson led Shadow Team 6 in capturing a Collector command node using guerrilla strategies perfected in Earth's rainforests centuries ago. Her neural enhancements processed the alien environment in milliseconds as her team moved like ghosts through the massive vessel. Just like the Jakarta operation, she told her squad as they planted demolition charges at critical junctions. Except the hostiles are 10 feet tall and have too many limbs. When the massive Collector mothership targeted a heavily populated Senate world called New Harmony, the human destroyer Shackleton executed what would become known as the Thermopylae maneuver, positioning itself precisely where the Collector's main harvester beam would fire, then detonating its antimatter core at the exact moment of impact. The resulting explosion channeled the destructive energy away from the planet, saving billions of lives at the cost of 320 human crew members. Captain Lin's last transmission from the Shackleton echoed across all channels. For Earth and all sentient life, remember us. Within 17 days, the seemingly unstoppable Collectors were in full retreat. Senate observers watched in fascination and alarm as human crews celebrated with rituals dating back to tribal warfare, victory songs, ceremonial toasts, battlefield promotions, and moments of silence for fallen comrades. The Phylaxian ambassador's crystalline form resonated with complex emotions as it observed Admiral Y placing medals on the survivors of Shadow Team 6. They mourned their dead individually, it noted to its Murbani colleague. Yet they willingly sacrificed themselves by the hundreds. Perhaps, the Murbani pulsed thoughtfully, that is why they fight so effectively. They understand the value of what they're protecting. The Galactic Senate chamber had never been so quiet as High Chancellor Xorix floated to the central podium. For the first time in recorded history, the chamber included armed personnel, human military advisors standing alongside the usual diplomats from 100 worlds. The stark black dress uniforms of the Earth officers contrasted with the colorful ceremonial garb of the Senate representatives. Yet somehow the humans no longer seemed out of place. Admiral Wei Chen stood at attention beside Dr. Prisha Kapoor, both wearing the newly created Defender of the Senate Medallion, an honor invented specifically to recognize humanity's intervention against the collectors. Behind them stood Lieutenant Maya Jackson and the surviving members of Shadow Team 6, their posture perfect despite injuries still healing. The Senate has convened today to address the status of humanity within our galactic community. Xorix began, the gaseous being's containment suit now a calm blue. Recent events have challenged our understanding. A holographic display activated above the chamber, showing footage from the battles against the collectors. The Senate representatives watched again as the Shackleton made its sacrifice to save New Harmony, as human marines breached collector vessels, as Earth's cyber warfare divisions dismantled alien defenses. The Senate acknowledges its error in judgment. The gaseous being stated formally, its synthesized voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. While human combat methodologies remain concerning, we recognize their necessity in a galaxy more dangerous than our peaceful ages led us to believe. The Vorxian delegation, their 6 arms bearing fresh battle scars from fighting alongside human forces, raised their appendages in approval. The Scarvian ambassador, who had once faced Maya in combat, nodded his amphibious head respectfully toward the human delegation. Therefore, by unanimous vote of the Senate Council, the restriction on human military presence is hereby lifted. Xorix declared, in its place, we propose the unprecedented Joint Defense Initiative, combining Senate technological innovation with human strategic expertise. A new holographic document materialized before Admiral Wei, the Charter for the Joint Defense Initiative, authorizing humanity to train and lead the Senate's first true military force in 8 millennia. We ask Earth to guide us, the Murbani elder said, floating forward. Our species have forgotten what yours remembers. We offer our technology, our resources, and our gratitude in exchange for your protection. As Admiral Wei stepped forward to sign the historic document, he addressed the assembled representatives with unexpected gentleness. His voice, accustomed to battlefield commands, softened with emotion. Humanity never wished to be warriors, he told them, gesturing toward the memorial hologram of the Shackleton's crew displayed prominently in the chamber. We learned to fight because we had to, develop the art of war so we could protect what matters most. Now that includes all of you. Dr. Kapoor placed her hand on Wei's shoulder as he completed his signature, the formal script of his name contrasting with the flowing alien symbols of the Senate representatives. Across the chamber, species who had feared humans days earlier raised their various appendages in the universal gesture of respect. The Phylaxian delegates chimed in harmonic resonance, a sound they reserved for historic moments. The avian trill, Kipta, whistled the piercing note that in their culture acknowledged a life debt. As the ceremony concluded, Admiral Wei received a classified report from Earth Intelligence. He scanned it quickly, then shared a meaningful glance with Lieutenant Jackson. 3 previously hostile species requesting peaceful diplomatic relations with the Senate, he murmured, citing resource allocation reassessments. Maya's lips curved in a subtle smile. Funny how that works. The message had spread quickly through hidden channels and distant monitoring posts. The Galactic Senate now had humanity standing with them. Just one fight had been enough to demonstrate why that mattered. As they exited the chamber, Dr. Kapoor found herself walking beside the Arxian mathematician, who had once calculated humanity's threat potential. "Have you run new simulations regarding human impact on galactic stability?" she asked curiously. The insectoid being's compound eyes reflected the light in complex patterns. Indeed, previous calculations showed humanity as potential extinction-level threat. New calculations show humanity as potential extinction-level protection. Its mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Mathematically fascinating.